We're diving deep today into the latest and greatest in bioinformatics and genomics research. We've got articles piled up from Nature, some blogs that are all about RNA sequencing, and even some investment news from bio-IT world. Get ready for some serious insight overload because this field is moving at warp speed.
It really is. The amount of research coming out is just amazing. It shows just how much momentum there is in these fields. One area that seems to be especially hot right now is RNA sequencing.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing that everywhere too.
Yeah.
What is it about RNA sequencing that's got everyone so excited?
Well, I think researchers are realizing that it gives us a totally different perspective. DNA is like a blueprint, but RNA sequencing is like watching the construction crew in action. By analyzing the RNA, scientists can see which genes are actually being expressed, how much, and in what situations.
So it's like a live feed of the cell's activity.
Exactly. And this is proving to be incredibly useful in so many ways. Like, there's this article about using RNA sequencing from dried blood spots to check for splicing variations. Imagine being able to diagnose diseases from a simple blood test.
Wow, that would be revolutionary. But I imagine that analyzing all that RNA data must be quite a challenge.
It definitely can be, but thankfully there are lots of new tools and resources being developed to make it more accessible. For instance, there's a workshop coming up on intermediate RNA-seq analysis using R. Learning R can really equip researchers with the skills they need to analyze these complex data sets.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about giving researchers the tools to understand the data.
Exactly, and that's where bioinformatics really shines. It's that bridge between raw data and actual biological insights.
And speaking of bioinformatics, it seems like the research is expanding beyond just DNA. I keep seeing this multi-omics approach mentioned.
Yeah, that's a major trend right now. Researchers are starting to see the limits of just looking at one omic level, like genomics by itself. They're now integrating data from multiple sources, like genomics, transcriptomics, proteomics, the whole shebang.
Why is this multi-omics approach so important?
Well, think about it like this. If you wanted to understand how a car works, you wouldn't just look at the engine. You'd also want to see how it connects to the transmission, the wheels, the electrical system. It's the same with biology. You need to see how all the pieces work together to really get the full picture.
So it's all about getting a holistic view of the biological system.
Precisely, and there's a great article that really hammers this home called The Power of Multi-Omics. Why should you bother? For example, think about a complex disease like cancer. By combining genomic data with information about gene expression, protein levels, and metabolic pathways, researchers can get a much deeper understanding of the disease, and that helps them to identify potential targets for therapies.
It sounds like this approach is especially important for dealing with diseases that have lots of different contributing factors.
Absolutely. It allows researchers to see the bigger picture and identify connections that they might miss if they were just looking at one type of data. And this leads us to a really fascinating area of research genotype-phenotype mapping.
That sounds interesting. What exactly is genotype-phenotype mapping?
So imagine you have the blueprint for a house, the genotype. Genotype-phenotype mapping is all about trying to figure out how that blueprint translates into the actual house, the phenotype. In biology, it's about understanding how variations in someone's DNA sequence influence their physical traits, their likelihood of getting certain diseases, even how they respond to medications. It's a really complex puzzle.
It sounds like trying to connect the dots between the genetic code and how it actually plays out in the real world.
Exactly. And researchers are using this multi-omics approach to tackle some really tough questions in this area. There's this paper called Multimodal Learning for Mapping Genotype-Phenotype Dynamics that uses computational tools to analyze this interplay. And this actually brings us to another major trend we're seeing: the rise of artificial intelligence in bioinformatics.
AI seems to be everywhere these days, even in bioinformatics.
It really is, and for good reason.
Oh.
AI can analyze huge amounts of data and spot patterns that would take humans forever to find. This is leading to some incredible breakthroughs.
Can you give us some examples of how AI is being used in bioinformatics?
Sure. One really cool example is using AI to create images of cleft lip deformities. Imagine how useful that could be for planning surgeries and training surgeons. And there's also research using AI to predict the structure of chromatin and the developmental potential in live oocytes. This could give us amazing insights into fertility and development.
Wow, that's incredible. Being able to predict the developmental potential of a oocyte could be huge for reproductive medicine.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there. AI is also being used to improve the accuracy of diagnosing central nervous system tumors. This really highlights the potential for AI to have a profound impact on healthcare.
From diagnostics to surgical planning, It seems like AI is really changing the game in medicine.
And it's not just healthcare. AI is even being used to detect intrusion in metaverse environments. It just shows how wide-reaching its impact is.
It's amazing how AI is being applied to such diverse fields.
And here's the thing. There are probably lots of AI studies going on that we don't even hear about. So the true scope of AI's impact is probably even bigger than we realize.
It's clear that AI is not just a buzzword. It's a powerful tool that's driving real progress across multiple disciplines.
Exactly. It's here to stay, and it's going to continue to shape the future of scientific discovery.
All this is super exciting, but it also makes me wonder about the ethical side of things. Using AI in these sensitive areas must raise some tough questions.
You're right. Like any powerful technology, it's important to think about the ethical implications and make sure it's being developed and used responsibly.
It's a good reminder that scientific progress needs to be balanced with ethical considerations.
Absolutely. We can't just focus on what we can do, but also how and why we're doing it.
And speaking of the real-world impact of all these breakthroughs, let's shift gears and talk about the financial side of things. The articles from BioIT World highlight some interesting investments and acquisitions happening in this space.
Yeah, it seems like the financial world is waking up to the potential of these advancements. GSK's $1 billion acquisition and Roche's licensing deal for gene therapy are definitely big signs.
Those are huge moves. What do you think this tells us about the future of these technologies?
I think it shows a growing confidence that these technologies can actually lead to real solutions. It's not just about scientific progress anymore, it's about commercial viability and the potential to make a real difference in people's lives.
So we're seeing this convergence of scientific innovation, technological advancements, and financial backing.
Exactly. And that convergence is what ultimately drives progress and brings these groundbreaking discoveries closer to benefiting people.
It's fascinating to see how all these different sectors are coming together to shape the future of bioinformatics and genomics. It feels like we're just at the beginning of an incredibly exciting journey of discovery and innovation.
Oh, absolutely. We're just scratching the surface. The pace of discovery is accelerating, and the potential for these technologies to transform healthcare and our understanding of life itself is just immense.
It's a thrilling time to be following these fields. Stay tuned as we dig deeper into specific areas of research and uncover even more fascinating insights.
It's easy to get lost in the big picture, but it's important to remember that all these advancements are happening because of real people. Dedicated researchers working tirelessly in labs all over the world.
That's right. It's easy to forget about the human element sometimes. What are some of the techniques and technologies these researchers are using to make these breakthroughs happen?
Well, one technique that's gaining a lot of traction is single-cell RNA sequencing. This lets scientists analyze gene expression at the individual cell level, which is amazing.
How is that different from traditional RNA sequencing?
Think of a tissue sample, like a big city with lots of different people, each with their own job and their own story. Traditional RNA sequencing is like getting a census of the whole city. You get an overall picture, but you lose the individual details. But single-cell RNA sequencing is like interviewing each person in the city one by one. You get to hear their unique perspective and understand their contribution to the whole.
So it's like zooming in from the level of the forest to the level of each individual tree.
Exactly. And this level of detail is revolutionizing our understanding of so many things, like how organs develop, how diseases progress, even how cells respond to different treatments. It's like having a super-powered microscope for the cellular world.
That level of detail must be revealing some incredible new insights.
Oh, absolutely. For example, there's this study about how soybeans defend themselves against these little worms called nematode pathogens. Turns out they have this whole intricate genetic defense system going on at the cellular level, and we can now study it in detail thanks to single-cell RNA sequencing.
Wow, nature is full of surprises. It reminds me of another article I saw about this deep learning pipeline called Fluocast Bright. It can actually predict the structure of chromatin and the developmental potential in live oocytes.
That's a fantastic example of how AI is being used to probe the very fundamentals of life. Chromatin structure plays a huge role in regulating how genes are expressed, which influences development. Being able to predict this in live oocytes could be a game changer for reproductive medicine.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of understanding the intricate dance of genes and their regulation at a whole new level.
We really are. And as we go deeper into these mysteries, it's crucial to think about the bigger picture.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, these technologies are incredibly powerful, and we need to be mindful of how we use them. It's not just about the scientific advancements themselves, but also about the ethical considerations.
So as we push the boundaries of what's scientifically possible, we need to make sure that we're not losing sight of the ethical implications.
Exactly. We need to have open and honest conversations about the potential benefits and risks of these technologies. And we need to figure out how to make sure they're used for the good of humanity.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with all the financial investment pouring into these fields. It's encouraging to see that there's a focus on turning these research findings into real benefits for patients.
That's a critical point. The ultimate goal of all this research is to improve people's lives. We need to make sure that these advancements actually reach the people who need them most.
So it's about finding that balance between pushing the frontiers of scientific discovery and making sure that those discoveries are developed and applied ethically and equitably.
Precisely. It's a complex landscape, but the potential rewards are huge. Just think about the sheer volume of research being published every day. It's mind-boggling.
It's both inspiring and a little overwhelming. It really feels like we're living in a time of unprecedented scientific progress, especially in bioinformatics and genomics.
We absolutely are. And it's not just happening in a few isolated labs. It's a global effort. Researchers all over the world are collaborating and sharing their findings. This collaborative spirit is what's really pushing the field forward.
It's amazing to think about how interconnected all this research is, how different studies build upon each other, leading to a deeper and deeper understanding of these complex biological processes.
Speaking of interconnectedness, we've been focusing mainly on RNA sequencing and genomics. But it's important to remember that these fields are closely tied to proteomics, the study of proteins.
Right, I was wondering when we'd get to proteomics. Proteins are often called the workhorses of the cell. They carry out the instructions encoded in our DNA.
That's right, and proteomics is a rapidly evolving field in its own right. It's giving us valuable insights into how proteins work and what their roles are in health and disease. Researchers are using proteomics to find biomarkers for diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, and heart disease.
So proteomics is playing a crucial role in diagnosing diseases and maybe even developing new treatments.
Exactly. And just like genomics and transcriptomics, proteomics is benefiting from all the advancements to AI and machine learning. Researchers are using AI to analyze mountains of proteomics data, which is leading to some exciting discoveries.
It sounds like proteomics is another essential piece of the puzzle when it comes to understanding the complexity of biological systems.
It is, and it's another great example of how interconnected these fields are. They all contribute to a more holistic view of biology.
It's incredible to think about how far we've come in such a short time. Just a few years ago, analyzing a single gene was a huge task, and now we're talking about unraveling the complexities of entire biological systems.
It's truly remarkable, and the pace of discovery is only picking up speed. There are so many exciting things happening right now, it's hard to keep up.
Speaking of exciting developments, there were a couple of articles that really caught my eye. One was about using spatially resolved transcriptomics and graph-based deep learning to improve the accuracy of diagnosing central nervous system tumors.
Oh yeah, that's a very promising area. CNS tumors can be really tough to diagnose and treat, so any improvement in accuracy is a big win.
Absolutely. And another article I saw talked about how this technique called scRNA-seq, which analyzes chromatin accessibility, it can actually generate more accurate and complete regulatory maps than the older bulk ATAC-seq method. This could have huge implications for understanding how genes are regulated and how that goes wrong in diseases.
It's amazing how these new technologies are constantly pushing the limits of what we can do. It really speaks to the creativity and ingenuity of the scientific community.
It's clear that we're in the middle of a scientific revolution, and these advancements have the potential to completely transform healthcare and our understanding of life itself. But with this power comes a responsibility to use this knowledge wisely and ethically.
I couldn't agree more. Science is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. We need to make sure that these advancements are used to create a healthier, more equitable, and more sustainable future for everyone.
So as we celebrate all this incredible progress, we also need to be thoughtful and engaged in shaping the ethical framework that guides these developments.
Absolutely. The future is full of possibilities, but it's up to us to make sure those possibilities lead to a better world for all.
That's a powerful message to end on. It's been an amazing journey exploring these groundbreaking discoveries with you, but unfortunately, we've reached the end of our deep dive for today.
I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's inspiring to see so much passion and dedication driving this field forward.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and remember that the pursuit of knowledge is always more rewarding when it's shared. Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive into the latest breakthroughs in bioinformatics and genomics.
It's amazing to see how these fields are advancing at such an incredible pace and how they're coming together in these really fascinating ways.
Yeah, from RNA sequencing to AI-powered diagnostics, it's just mind-blowing the amount of research that's happening and the sheer variety of it.
It really speaks volumes about the ingenuity and dedication of researchers around the world. They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
One thing that's really stood out to me is the global nature of this effort. Researchers are collaborating across borders and disciplines. It's truly a collective endeavor.
Absolutely. Collaboration is key to tackling these complex challenges. And it's so inspiring to see scientists from all over the world sharing their knowledge and expertise to drive progress.
We've also seen how important the private sector is in all of this. With significant investments and acquisitions, they're fueling innovation and helping to bring these discoveries closer to real-world applications.
Yeah, that dynamic between academia and industry is so crucial. It's what helps translate research into tangible benefits for patients and society as a whole.
But amidst all this excitement, we can't forget about the ethical considerations surrounding these powerful technologies.
Right, we need to make sure that these advancements are used responsibly and ethically for the benefit of all humankind.
As we've discussed, these technologies have immense potential to transform healthcare and deepen our understanding of life itself.
Mhm.
But as the saying goes, great power comes with great responsibility.
We need to have those open and honest conversations about the potential implications of these advancements, and we need to shape the future of these technologies in a way that aligns with our values.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a sense of awe at the incredible progress being made. And I'm also feeling a renewed sense of responsibility to make sure these advancements are used for good.
It's an exciting time to be alive and witnessing this scientific revolution unfold. And it's up to all of us to make sure it leads to a brighter and more equitable future for everyone.
Absolutely. We encourage all of you listening to keep exploring these topics, stay curious, and engage in conversations about the ethical and societal implications of these advancements.
The future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we actively create through our choices and our actions.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cutting-edge science. We'll be back soon with more explorations of the frontiers of knowledge and innovation.